There's no need to stop riding your e-bike over the winter, especially when that rain's hammering down, the trails are all muddy. In fact, it's the best time to be out there. There's a few hacks that I've used over the years. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you a few of those. So goggles and glasses tend to steam up when you're working hard. Obviously on the climbs and things, you're not going to need that eye cover. So what I suggest you do on those climbs, just get a nice clean bit of tissue, something like that. Just wrap those glasses up, stick them in your pockets, making sure those lenses are nice and covered. That way, when you get to that top of the climb and you're ready to descend, those glasses are steam free and ready to go. Toothpaste. You might wonder what the hell I'm doing with this out on the trail. No, I'm not going to be brushing my teeth. What I am doing is just smearing a small little bit on the inside of my glasses. Actually, that way it's going to stop those glasses steaming up when you're out on the trails. Also going to be keeping your eyes minty fresh too. If you're not feeling the hacks, you can actually get down to your local car parts supplier. There's loads of products like this rain repellent here. Basically, all this does is just beads that rain up on your glasses and turns it into little tiny beads. When you're going forward, that's just going to roll off and fly off with the wind. Also for inside the goggles as well, you've got an anti-fog. You can put that inside there. It's going to stop those goggles steaming up as well. So a nice little hack before you hit the trails is actually to spray your bike with some silicone spray, just down a down tube, maybe on the back of the seat tube. All those problem areas where you see a lot of mud build up on your bike. It's obviously going to vary between the different brands, but just obviously spray it onto a rag. If you're spraying it directly onto your frame, you're going to run that risk of that silicone spray going onto those discs, obviously going to contaminate it. So just make sure you've got that on the rag. Just any problem areas, just give it a good soak in with some WD-40. That way, when that bike gets muddy, that mud is literally just going to drop straight off the bike. So nice little hack if you haven't got a front mud guard, to actually make one out of an old inner tube. I did this the other day at the trails. I turned up, it was way muddier than I expected. I was hitting the trails every run, a face full of mud. So all I did was just cut a little section out of inner tube, just what actually fits between your front tyre and the fork crown, cut that. Then all you do is just open it up, a couple of little bit of holes in there, a couple of zip ties, put it to your fork crown and your fork arch, and there you go, you've got a nice little mud guard, stops all that mud firing up off that front tyre. So when it comes to footwear for winter riding, there's no thing as a complete waterproof shoe, but you can help yourself out a hell of a lot just with a simple piece of duct tape. What I like to do is just get a piece of this, and just stick it over my lace holes. Actually, the lace hole is going to be the bit where you're going to get that most of that water in, and work your way up, making sure it's nicely stuck down the whole way. Actually gives you a nice waterproof bit of seal on those laces. Just work your way up, that way any water that runs off your waterproofs is actually going to run off your shoe as well. So when you're hitting the trails, you might find yourself sliding around a bit more out there on the trails, especially on the roots, rocks, things like that. So it's a good idea just to drop your tyre pressure down, just 2 or 3 psi. It's going to give you a lot more predictability in that tyre. It's going to let that tyre deform over those rocks and roots. Should give you a bit more grip out there on the trails. ZIPLOCK bags, an essential bit of kit when it comes to riding in the rain. It means you can stick your phone in there, keep it nice and dry. Even when your missus calls you and you're out in the hammering rain, you can whip that out of your riding pack. These things are touch sensitive, so you can still use that phone, text her back that you're not going to be back for another 2 hours because you're enjoying your wet rides so much. It gives you a nice peace of mind. You can stick that in there, knowing your phone's going to be dry at the end of your ride too. So when it comes to winter riding, it means those rides can take a little bit longer than expected sometimes. Obviously the light drops down a bit earlier as well, so you're losing that light. So a good little bit of kit to have is a rear light. Just stick that in your riding pack. It means you can whip it out if you've got any road sections in between you and your home. This is a nice little hack for you when the conditions get really nasty out there on the trails. So what the pros do is just add a little bit of anti-slip tape on the brake levers, gear levers, dropper posts, things like that. It's just going to increase that friction between you and the brake levers, especially when you're on those bumpy downhill trails. You don't want to be slipping off those levers and crashing into the trees. So So this little hack comes from the motocross guys. What they like to do, especially in muddy conditions, any little gap or crevice or anywhere that can collect mud on their motorbike, they stick foam in. Obviously foam is going to stop all that mud building up. So anywhere on your e-bike you can see a gap like behind the battery on this one, it's a good idea just to fill that with foam. Moto guys use things called moto foam. It's a bit more expensive. You don't need to spend that money. Just get down to your local hardware shop, get a set of sponges, any little gap, stick a bit of sponge in there. It's going to stop that mud build up. I mean, that bike's going to stay lighter, it's going to be more efficient when you're out there on the trails in the mud. So one of the items on your e-bikes that get hammering over the winter is your dropper seat post. That's if you're lucky to have one, that is. But a neat little hack you can do is actually use an old inner tube and make a boot out that sits over that seat post and stops all that mud and water flicking off your back tyre trying to get down into that seal. Okay, so to make the seat post boot, first things first, you need to remove that seat and the whole upper assembly off of your seat post, so you're left just with the head. So put that somewhere nice and safe. Next step is to get that inner tube, offer it up against the seat post, see how much of that tube you're going to need to cut away. So need about this much length. So we're going to cut that through, nice and safe. Obviously inside there's a lot of chalk, so just make sure, give it a good blow. Okay, so next step is just to thread that inner tube over your seat tube clamp, so just get it nice and lined up. The tighter the better for this, so this is quite tight, this inner tube. When it comes to securing the top, you can see you've got a bit of a gap there, so any water that could possibly flick up, it's going to get trapped. So what I suggest you do is at the front of the seat post, so away from that back wheel, just make a fold, get that fold around, and then just a bit of nice duct tape, something similar, just get that in nice and snug, that's actually wrapped around. Try and create a nice sort of seal, not too much. It just stops all the rest of that water trying to go in. So that's fairly snug on there now. Just check that it goes down and up, nice and easy. Got that tape on there. It's going to stop a lot of that water going in off that back wheel. Really important thing with this hack, just make sure after every ride, just you get any trapped water or any mud that is in there off of that shaft, because obviously if there's anything trapped in there, it's going to score it and damage it. So it's really important to keep on top of that as well. If you leave a little bit of gap, any water that should get in there will actually run out. So got a little drain on the bottom. Nice little hack for that winter ride. So winter can be quite cruel to the components on your e-bike as well. Things like the cranks can take a hell of a beating from that pace that you get between your foot and the actual crank arm. So your nice shiny new crank arms can look like they've been on your bike for about 50 years after winter. It's a nice little hack to slide a little piece of inner tube over those cranks. It means you're going to get protected. There's a layer between them. You're going to be protected all winter. When summer comes, you can whip that inner tube off and have nice shiny cranks. So you really need to bear it in mind what size inner tube you're using on your cranks. You want something that's going to fit snugly over that. So if you've got skinny cranks, I suggest using a bit of road bike inner tube. Something that's slightly beefier, just use a standard mountain bike tube. So there you go, that's my favourite hacks to get you through the nastiest weather you're going to encounter this winter on your e-bike. If you've enjoyed today's video, be sure to check out how to winterize your e-bike up here. Real cool vid. And then we've got how to wash your e-bike, something you're going to be doing a lot of over the winter months. If you've enjoyed today's video, give us a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to EMBN and drop your comments in the box below, and see you in the next one.